Information and Communication Technology presents Educational Satellite Television Programs.
Hello, teacher. Hello, students. Welcome to today's lesson on the recycling of elements in nature. This will be our third lesson on this topic. In our last lesson, we learned about the nitrogen cycle. We learned that atmospheric nitrogen is fixed into nitrates or ammonia. This is absorbed by plants, which are eaten by animals, which then excrete them back into the soil. We also learned that when plants and animals die, decomposition bacteria convert their bodies back into ammonia and ammonium salts. Then, anaerobic bacteria convert the ammonia back into nitrogen gas. We learned that this process is known as denitrification. In today's lesson, we are going to learn about the phosphorus cycle. We will look at a diagram of this cycle and we will explain all of the phases involved. Students, I'm sure you enjoyed the last two lessons. This lesson is going to be equally fascinating. Let us begin. The main difference between the phosphorus cycle and the carbon and nitrogen cycles is that phosphorus is not found in the Earth's atmosphere in a gaseous state. Both carbon and nitrogen are found in a gaseous state. Students, where is phosphorus found? Please list as many places as you can think of.
Students, let's get ready. Begin. Time's up. Let's get back to our lesson.
Hello, everyone. Phosphorus is mainly found in water, soil, and sediments. If you answered that correctly, great job. Phosphorus is an essential nutrient for both plants and animals in specific ionic forms. It is part of deoxyribonucleic acids, or DNA molecules, that store energy-rich adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, and fats of cell membranes. Phosphorus is also an important building block of certain parts of human and animal bodies. Students, can you guess which parts? Choose the most correct answers.
Students, let's get ready. Begin. Time's up. Let's get back to our lesson.
Welcome back, students. If you chose answers B and D, teeth and bones, then you are correct. Phosphorus is a building block for these animal and human body parts. Interestingly, not only is phosphorus found in teeth, it is also found in toothpaste. Let us continue with our lesson. Rainfall erodes phosphate rocks and releases phosphate salts. These salts are also released through weathering and water runoff. The release of phosphate salts results in a constant phosphorus supply for plants. Plants absorb phosphate salts through their roots and use them to make organic compounds. Animals then eat these plants and absorb the phosphates. As we discussed in our last lesson, when plants and animals die, they decompose. During decomposition, any phosphate within them is released back into the soil or water. Phosphates again become a part of the earth, and it exists there until it can once again make a geological shift and restart the cycle. Students, let us talk about another factor that differentiates the phosphorus cycle from the carbon and nitrogen cycles. Phosphorus salts are released at an extremely slow rate in comparison to the nitrogen and carbon cycles. In fact, phosphorus can remain in rock sediments for millions of years. As we discussed, plants convert phosphorus salts into organic materials that help them grow. However, the need for phosphate salts outweighs the amount that is naturally released. To alleviate this demand, humans devised a way to add phosphate to fertilizers. This serves to increase crop growth and thus increase agricultural productivity. As is the case with nitrogen fertilizer, which we discussed in our last lesson, phosphate fertilizers are not always beneficial. Phosphorus cannot be easily removed from soil because it bonds with soil particles. Therefore, along with soil, phosphorus can leach into surface waters. Although phosphorus is not considered to be dangerous in itself, it does promote the growth of algae in slow-moving water. When algae dies and decomposes, it removes oxygen from the water, which causes fish to die. This process is called eutrophication. Students, let us do an exercise. Using point form notation, explain the phosphorus cycle as we have just learned it.
Students, let's get ready. Begin. Time's up. Let's get back to our lesson.
Hello again, students. Here is a diagram of the phosphorus cycle. We will use it to help us explain the different phases. Phosphorus that is present in rocks and soil is released by rain and weathering. Plants absorb phosphate salts and convert them into organic compounds. When animals eat plants, they also absorb the phosphate. When plants and animals die, they decompose and release the phosphate back into the cycle. Although phosphorus might remain in rock sediment for millions of years, it will eventually be released again to continue the cycle. In today's lesson, we learned about the phosphorus cycle. We looked at the phases of this cycle and discussed how man-made application of phosphorus to the environment can have both positive and negative results. We also learned the differences between the carbon and nitrogen cycles and the phosphorus cycle. While both carbon and nitrogen exist in a gaseous form, phosphorus does not. Also, the phosphorus cycle is quite slow, taking up to millions of years to complete. The other two cycles are much quicker. This is all the time we have for today's lesson. Until next time, thank you, teacher. Thank you, students.